This film is going to show you how to create graphics in some common image creation and editing packages, which you can use as textures on your SketchUp model. Textures in SketchUp come from two places. They either come from a built-in textures, here the paint bucket, which we apply textures built in, and we can also change the scale of these textures, or you can import your own textures and paste them onto the model. And that's what we're going to do. Now, to do this, you need to know two important things. The first thing you need to know is how big your model is. So I've used the dimension tools to show the sizes here. The second thing you need to know is how high quality you want your graphics. Now, if you are producing exceptionally high quality output, you might go as high as 600 dots per inch. That equals 24 pixels for every millimeter. That's 240 pixels for every centimeter. Very fine. But for this type of thing, we can probably get away with about 200 dots per inch. So that's roughly 8 pixels per millimeter. So if we multiply these numbers by 8, that will give us the correct size. So let's start with the top here. It's 165 by 165. Well, if we use a calculator, we can go 165 times 8, giving us 1320. So if we create a graphic 1320 and we paste it onto our SketchUp model, if we make it full size, it'll be the equivalent of 200 dots per inch, which is probably good enough for most GCSE and A-level work. So here's how we do it. First of all, choose the package you want to use. This first demonstration is in the Paint program. Now, this is Paint for Windows 7, so it'll probably look a bit slicker than one you might have available, but the same principle applies for Paint as for any other image editing program. First of all, go into your program and change the size of what you're drawing on. So I'm going to go to Properties here in this particular copy of Paint, and it says at the moment 500 by 500 pixels. Well, if you remember, the size we wanted, 165 millimeters times 8, gave us 1320 pixels. So we put 1320 in the width, 1320 in the height, and you can see it's measuring in pixels. Here you can't really change the dots per inch, but it doesn't really matter because when it goes on, it scales automatically onto the object in SketchUp. If we haven't got the DPI quite right in the program, it shouldn't affect it. Okay, and this gives us this square here, which it tells us at the bottom is 1320 by 1320. And now it's just a case of colouring in what we're doing. So let's go for this rather lurid colour here. Let's pick up some brushes and some other colours and just have some fun for a bit. Now, exactly what you put in is up to you. It's your design. All that matters is that what you put in is saved in a format that can be used by SketchUp. And basically that means make sure it's the right number of pixels to get your quality, but also make sure it's the right file format. So here we are. I've got a ChocBox here. A few more bits and pieces in, just for fun. You can see this is high quality graphics. But it can equally be something you spend quite a bit of time on in Photoshop or other image editing program, bringing in photographs, whatever you need to do. We then save. Now, when you save, choose the correct file format. PNG, as it's shown here, will actually work in the work for SketchUp, but you can also use JPEGs, and I tend to go for JPEGs. So I'll save that to my picture library, give it a name. Now, because I'm putting it onto something, I'm going to make sure I've got a name that I know what it is later. So ChocBox top graphic, save as JPEG, save. Now we can go back to our SketchUp model, which is here, and we can paste this onto the top. So we would go to our file menu and import the graphic we've just created. Import, and then make sure you've got the correct file type here. So here I made sure I've got JPEG. If you put the wrong one in, you won't see the picture. So check it's the right format. So click on this, and then make sure you've got use as texture. Without that, you won't be able to change it later. Open it, and you'll find it's on the end of your mouse cursor. Now anchor it in one corner, drag it out, and don't worry if you can't make it fit perfectly straight off, but you should find it fairly easy to just pop it on. And there is our first graphic. Now we're going to use a different program to show how it works in something else to do this front face here. This front face is 210 by 165. So back to the calculator. We know 165 means 1320 pixels along. Let's see what 210 is. So 210 times 8 is 1680. Now this time we're going to use a different program, Serif Photo Plus X3. Though any version of Photo Plus will do, even the free one that you can download from freeserifsoftware.com will work for this, but it won't look as slick as this. And I've opened up a new drawing. We go to File, View Image. I'm looking for the thing that would allow me to change the size of the canvas. There we are, canvas size, under the image menu. Click on that and then change the size to what you need. Now the width is 1320 and the height 1680. Pixels. Okay. And there's our graphic. And all we need to do now is to fill it in with the colours and the bits and pieces that we want. Fairly straightforward. So let's quickly put a few bits of graphic in. You can see I spend all my time as a graphic artist. And you can also use any of the other tools that you have access to in order to finish off your work. Quality or what. So, having done that, the next thing to do is again to save your work. So File, on this particular program, I'm going to export it, choose JPEG, I'll just put this into the right one, Picture Library, choose JPEG again, though you can do a PNG instead, and call it ChocBox, and I call it left front, because it's effectively two fronts, there's two cutaways, ChocBox left front, and save. Back to SketchUp. Again, select the face you want to put it on, this one, File, Import, oh there it is, ChocBox left front, double click, it's already ticked off as a texture. If it doesn't work first time, don't worry, just undo and do it again. So each time you do it, just reselect the front, File, Import, ChocBox. Now let's say you do something really wrong, you put it in, it ends up like that. What's happened there is I put the texture in at a smaller size and then it's ended up tiling it across. Well, by right clicking over it, choosing texture and position, you'll find you'll get these 4 little pins. These pins represent the corner of the graphic. If you can't see them, then hover over whatever you get. You may have it like this instead. Untick fixed pins, and then you get that. And then you can literally click on a pin and then drag it to the corners of the face. Let's select and out. There we are. ChocBox. Now if I look at that and go, actually that doesn't really work, does it? That choc should be up more in the corner. I can go back to my graphic and I can change and select and do anything I need to do to my graphic until it's doing exactly what I want it to do. And really that's the important thing. It's that you have your graphics able to be changed how you want them changed. This ChocBox is one I did earlier, and this particular one had all the graphics created in Macromedia Fireworks. So here's the top graphic. If we look in Fireworks, here is the actual file. Now you may not be aware of this, but most sophisticated graphic editors, you can save the graphic in a format where it remembers all the different layers and bits and pieces, so you don't have to sort of knock it all together into one block to output it as a JPEG. You can actually produce it like you see here, make any changes to it you wish to make. So I think I'm going to change some of the colours here. There you are, to bring out the texture a bit more. I'm also going to change the colour of this text from light to a much darker chocolate colour. So you can try out different things and see what they look like. And this is a great advantage. I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow to that to try and make it look better. You may not have seen that dialog menu, so it's just off screen. Let's try that. That looks a bit better. Okay, and then what I do is I can save that back where it came from, or save as it's a variation. I'll just save this time. So I can go File and Export from here. And in this particular version of Fireworks, there's an export wizard. I'll tell it to export it on the web, just because it comes up with the right file format. Choose JPEG, Export. There it's going to be on there. Top V2. Go into SketchUp. So we can go File, Import, choose the graphic for SketchUp, line it up and place it in position. Now at this point you're probably thinking, hang about, that's the wrong way round. And you're right, it needs rotating 180 degrees. So we right click on it, Texture, Position. You'll notice we have our 4 little pins here. If we hold down the Shift key, they change to a different type of pin, including this one here, where we can rotate the texture. I'm using this to line up with the corners, like that. And we can do it again, till we've got the graphic how we want it. What you may then have to do is to move the graphic until the little pin's in the right place. Just fiddle with it a bit. There are more sophisticated tools than this in SketchUp for handling graphics, but really the dragging the pins and rotates works quite as well. And there we are. We can now look at our box and decide whether we like the top or not. So, just to go back over this, you can use any image editing program to create your graphics. You can import in pictures from elsewhere, you can scan whatever you want, but make sure you have a decent resolution, otherwise you'll have very blocky graphics on your SketchUp models.